All right. Welcome to our January online learning series. Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you for joining. I know it's across the frozen tundra of Texas and South Louisiana this morning. So thank you for joining online with us. We're going to start our year off with an automation update. Just a good general update of what's kind of new to kind of get you started for the new year. Okay, so we do have a bit of a schedule, set for the next several months. So of course today is our automation update, like I just said. We're online today. We will do this session live in Houston tomorrow. So if you would like to see it again and live and in person, you're more than welcome to join in Houston. In February, we're going to do more of a deeper dive on Studio 5000 version 36 and Echo version 3. We will talk about that today. We'll have one or two slides on just high level what's new with V36 and V3 Logix Echo, but we'll have a much better presentation next month on that. March, we'll look at industrial networks and what's kind of going on with that new. There's some new updates in the Stratix portfolio, which again we'll touch on briefly today, but deeper dive in March. April, modernization update. Always good to keep up with moving from older legacy products to what's new. And then in May, we'll have an industrial security update. So we invite everyone, as always, to go to reynoldsonline.com. You can go under training and events and always see what's happening as far as our online sessions, our in-person sessions, any training events, and any other special events that we have happening. Also, kind of failed to mention the little QR code in the bottom there. We are doing some different things today. First off, you notice that we're using Teams platform, which in the past we've always used Zoom. So one of the things we've also changed is kind of our back-end registration. So we are asking if you'd like to kind of just check in with us. You can hit that QR code with your phone. I think all you got to do is type in your email address, and that'll basically check you in that you actually attended. That'll help us, for PDHs. So a lot of times we get requests for PDHs after the fact. It'll kind of help us prove that you attended, as well as any follow-ups, emails, and presentations that we might share after the fact. One other thing on this slide before move on is, if you've been with us in the past, you've seen that we used to have two kind of columns going on there. We had the learning series and our tech talks. We decided this year to just kind of focus on the learning series only. What we're going to do with our tech talks is we're going to kind of make that a video, post to YouTube, kind of do video updates on YouTube. So instead of a live event, we'll do that as a recorded video session, and then we'll put that on YouTube to watch on demand. The tech talks were kind of came about after the start of COVID. We, as a team, we came together and we just wanted to kind of create a lot of content and get it out there. We realized that now that everyone is kind of back into the full swing of things, taking time away to attend other online sessions becomes harder. So we'll still do good content and create content, but we'll put that on our YouTube channel. So just keep up with us there. Again, reynoldsonline.com. We'll give you a link to all of our social platforms as well. All right, so today we're going to have a few of our specialists. We're going to have Tyler Britt out of Houston, Mike Masterson also out of Houston, Neil Kuczynski out of San Antonio, and myself, Wayne Welk, out of New Orleans, kind of sharing the presentation duties. In our agenda for today, we'll look at controllers and I/O update, then into a network portfolio update, design software update, and finally visualization portfolio update. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mike to take it from here.
All right, thanks a lot, Wayne. Hi, everyone. My name is Mike Masterson. I'm one of the automation specialists out of the Houston office. And today I'm going to be going over a little bit on some controller and I/O updates. So we're going to start today with the Micro 800. This is something we talked about, but while talking about the Micro 800, what's forcing us to talk about it is the MicroLogix platform for most purposes is gone. It's reached end of life. You still might be able to get some MicroLogix 1400s, but that would be a short-term solution. So we're trying to get people to adopt the Micro 800 series. Now, there's been a lot of changes to the platform recently, and some very exciting changes to the platform. The Micro 800 can do stuff that the MicroLogix could never do now. So we're happy about that. With the addition of V22 of the Connected Components Workbench software, things have been added to the system that makes it kind of unique. We now have the DNP3 support. DF1's built into it. We've got some the SIP symbols have been put into it, additional expansion modules, and we can do motion control with pulse train output. Now, one of the biggest things that has come to that really differentiates itself from the MicroLogix platform is we now support class 1 implicit messaging. What that means is we can now support remote I/O on our Micro 800 controllers. Now, specifically, I'm looking at the L50E and the L70E. And just to give you a balance of where we stand on sizing for this, the L70E will get approximately as large as any of the MicroLogix 1200s or 1400s, with the ability to support up to max probably about 200 I/O. All right, next slide. So with the version 22, they have added class 1 messaging to the Micro 800. Specifically, there are some add-on instructions for it. And one of the addition changes, it will now look, you can do add a major fault to the controller while it's in run mode, and it will handle just like a control logic. So that's kind of a unique thing. But what this means is this now controller can now support our PowerFlex 525s and 523 drives, point IO, and some of our motor control or our servo type business can now be directly controlled through the controller. Again, something the MicroLogix could never do. So we're pretty excited about this. Now, to let you know about the tools for this, there are tools for conversion of existing programs if you are coming from a MicroLogix environment. There it won't get you 100% there, but it will get you about 70% way on a program conversion. We're going to dig into the I/O a little bit now. All right, the Compact 5000, we now have isolated analog HART I/O modules. These are all 4-channel inputs and outputs. We support HART up to V7, so that's pretty important. And we support the highly integrated HART. Visibly through the project, we can actually see the HART devices in our Studio 5000 projects. I do have another slide that I'll pop up in a couple minutes that I can show you how that would look. So it can give you actually sort of a network view of all your HART devices, which is kind of nice. It also allows you to do a device configuration internally to it, and you can add and replace the devices online. So specifically while we're talking about the HART I/O, this is part of our plant PAX system. We are considering this part of our process I/O family. Also, big deal, the OW16C will now operate without putting in a feed power distribution block, the FPD block, which is if you're changing voltages across the backplane is what we would inherently have to use. Now with the OW16C, we do not have to use an FPD module to separate the voltages if we're going over to a 120 volt system. So what's good about that is because lots of people will always forget when they're using a relay output card and they might be moving AC, they forget the FPD model. Now it's not necessary in that application. So that's a pretty big deal there. They also increase the milliamps provided on it. So it's a pretty significant change for us. Okay, the Flex IO Heart modules, again, this is part of our process IO strategy. Our Flex 5000 is a big component of what we consider our process IO. It's probably, for any large system, it's the most cost-effective IO we have. And again, it's one of 2 IO platforms that we can mount either vertically or horizontally. For the longest time, I would say it was the only one I would promote that way, but we do have new IO that does that also, which we'll address shortly. But basically the same thing as the 5069 IO. We now will support hard up to V7. So we get a lot more functionality and information from that. But one of the big things is, you notice on the right underneath the blocks as you're looking at the screen, as you add your heart devices, they actually show up in the IO tree. So it's part of the package now. It's just not hanging it by itself. And by using these, it keeps us from having to use isolators. So that's a pretty big deal on this cards, and a big hit or a big plus for our process IO. Next slide. So as what we consider our process IO these days is 5069 IO, the 5094, which is the Flex 5000 IO, the 1715 IO, which is our traditional redundant IO, and the 5015, which is our new redundant IO platform, which we'll be talking this year. We'll be going more and more in depth in it. This is not the first time we're going to be exposed to the 5015 IO. You will see this pop up in multiple presentations as we go down the road. So let's talk about our new redundant IO. We call it the Flex High Availability 5000, or Flex HA. I'm not the marketing department for Rockwell. So ultimately, it will be our SIL 3 IO platform. That will be for future releases. The certifications are in at the moment. So just want to make everyone aware of that. This can be configured like the 1715 IO as both simplex or duplex. We can get up to 192 points off the comms adapters. So a nice little size. It can be mounted vertically or horizontally, like the Flex 5000 IO, which makes it unique, which might give you more the ability to get more density into a closet. And it does carry the extended temperature range. Another nice thing about it is on the comms modules, this will be able to take SFP, so we'll be able to take fiber directly to the comms modules. So just to let everyone know, I know our Houston office, we do have some ordered for our demo room, so we'll be playing around with this very shortly. You notice all the field wiring's down below, so you can replace IO modules without touching the field wiring, which is also very important. Okay, currently what's out, well, I'll address it in this slide, is currently what's available at this moment are the universal IO cards. The individual discrete and analog cards are not available at this time, so everything we have would be universal as of this date. Now, as you're looking at this, you notice there's a lot of components in it. The big takeaway I want you to know, I did not see the CCW question in play. I will come back to that. Our guest who asked the question about CCW, I had this question asked me yesterday. Can you install multiple versions of 22 or CCW on your laptop? I'm actually trying to figure that out right now. Currently, right now, I only have the latest edition on my image that I have, and that's usually how I run CCW. But there is a point, if you have older hardware, you might need to run version 12. So I will get an answer for that, but at this moment, I do not have an answer for that question. Back on the Flex 5000 or Flex HA IO, you can see how it gets put together. You have your dual power modules, you have your dual comms adapters, and your dual IO modules, or that can be wired for either duplex or simplex. So my takeaway here is there is a configuration utility built into our integrated architecture builder software. So if you're putting together this software at this time, because we're dealing with a lot of unfamiliar part numbers, I would suggest doing it in our integrated architecture builder if you want to build some of this out and see what it looks like. So all that's loaded in there, and we will be addressing this IO in subsequent meetings. It will be part of our agendas going forward also. All right. And also there is a promo for it. For anyone who wants, I know we're missing some of the certs for this at this time, but if you want to look at being an early adopter on this IO, Rockwell does have a program where ultimately you buy a couple chassis of this, we'll give you a couple chassis of it. I would say if you're interested in something like that, please reach out to your local specialist or your account manager, and we can get you some numbers so you can take a look at it. But Rockwell is looking for early adopters of this IO, so if you're interested, please reach out to us. And with that, I think I'm getting ready to hand this over to Tyler to talk a little bit about our network portfolio. Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Mike. Hello, everyone. So as we know, the 5700 is sadly, sorry about that, I was having some headset issues. So as we know, the 5700 in active mature status, we do have some fantastic replacements on the line with the 5200s and the 58. 5800 will be more of a blow for blow replacement to the 5700. We have one of the base things with this is we do have 10 all gigabit ports, which is very nice. Sorry, my headset is messing with me right now. I'm trying to get that fixed.
You want to pick up there, Tyler, if you.
Yeah, go ahead and take over. Wayne.
Yeah, so the 5800, this has been out for a little bit. There's been some improvements in the firmware set that came out last year. The DLR support finally came in. Basically, the 5800 switch is modular in that you get this base unit, which is the 10 all gig ports, and then you can add a single expansion module onto it. The expansion module can give you either an 8 or 16 port with either copper PoE or SFP slot capability. So we look at the 5800 switch as as kind of a little bit of a higher end switch in our managed switch portfolio. And again, with the DLR support now, it really gives us multiple switches that can do DLR currently.
And one thing on the PoE functionality, Wayne, if you were to add a PoE expansion module to it, you need to make sure the base unit is PoE. You cannot put a PoE expansion unit on the a standard base switch that does not have PoE built into it. So that's part of when you slap this stuff together. That's why when configuring this, feel free to reach out to your specialist.
The 5200 switch, this is the replacement for the 5700 that Tyler had mentioned there ago. So the 5700 switch is at its end of life. It might still be shipping here for a few more months into 2024, but eventually it's going to go completely discontinued. The 5200 is the replacement, and it is actually active product and shipping, so you can actually buy this switch today.
And this is kind of a like-to-like product with the 5700. The port counts will mirror pretty much exactly like the 5700 does. So there is an equivalent 5200 to anything that was existing in the 5700.
Right. The big difference is the updated operating system, which the iOS XE, the new web the new web user interface. It does support PRP. And the faceplates and AOPs there at the bottom. So that is something that will be coming. I don't think the faceplates. I don't know if the AOP is released yet, but the faceplates will be coming here in a short bit. I think this is the last slide on the switches. Basically, showing you that there are kind of the tail of the tape for DLR now. I had mentioned there's a few switches that can handle DLR. So the 5800 could do up to 3 DLR rings. The 5200 can do either 1 or 2 based on the model you purchase as well.
Wayne, one quick item here, just so everybody's aware. So with the new switches, so the Stratix 5200 and the 5800, they did change the interface. So it is still a web-based interface, but they've now added more diagnostic function. This is just kind of mentioning the support for the device level ring directly into the web page. And also with the latest firmware update to the 5800, it can now support 3 device level rings. So that was something that I think we had talked about in a previous session, but just to let everybody out know that firmware has been released. Thanks, Wayne.
Good. Yep. No, thanks for the assist with that. So we'll move on into the design software update. And again, like we had mentioned before, we will have a networking update coming up soon. So we'll go into much further detail on all of those new developments in an upcoming session. So for design software updates, this basically is CCW and Studio 5000. Mike had alluded to CCW a while back in the presentation about version 22 that did release there late last year. Major improvements with version 22 were some bit level commenting, the PC cubed capabilities, and some legacy address mapping. So they're really, most of the improvements that have come to CCW over the last couple of releases have all been about improving the migration from MicroLogix to the Micro 800. So each iteration has just gone better and better in helping us move our legacy customers, MicroLogix legacy customers, over to CCW. So if you're still out there with MicroLogix and still been a little hesitant to move to the Micro 850 or to the Micro 800 family, I should say, it's a good time to consider it and look at it. We'll be happy to help you with that migration process to get you more comfortable with it. You can take your MicroLogix applications and convert them over into CCW. So that's been in there for quite some time. And I think there was the question earlier about multiple versions of CCW in the computer at the same time. To my knowledge, I don't think that's possible, at least from my experience with CCW. I haven't seen where you can keep multiple versions on there. So
it's not.
So it's a good question. Yeah. Okay. Good. So it's a good question. We'll have to ask if that's a roadmap item or how to support older install base type of question there. So Studio 5000 also, latest version came out there at the end of November as well. Version 36 is out. So the last couple of, for a while there, Studio 5000 was, getting a new update almost every other month. It felt like they've really slowed it down and gone about once a year now. So V36, the big changes here is some additional I/O support. There's a new I/O link hub and an L85E safety support, iTrack support. But the real big thing that came in the 36 that's probably of most interest is OPC UA support at the controller level. And I have a slide on this here coming up next to talk a little bit more. Some of additional features was granular safety signatures and some additional safety relay ladder logic instructions on the safety side. So some of the more common relay ladder logic instructions can now be used on the safety side if you're using GuardLogix applications, as well as access test modes and some motion and direct referencing capabilities for those who do some motion stuff. The other kind of thing that didn't make this little list here that's kind of a significant change is they've updated the mnemonics for a lot of the instructions. So they've kind of aligned the mnemonics, I guess, with the IEC standards. So for instance, like, a greater than block you might have used to been GRT perhaps. Now it might be something might have a different acronym. The top of my head, I'm not going to remember these properly, but the key is that that if you had an older project, when you open it up in V36, your mnemonics might have changed. So that's a little bit of a significant change, perhaps. On to OPC UA. So a little bit more about this. So OPC UA is only going to be version 36. You have to be at version 36 to get it. It will only be supported in the L8 CPUs, and that's both the Control and CompactLogic's L8 CPUs. If you're using the L8 CPU, it's important to note that it's only supported in the embedded Ethernet port right now. So you won't be able to use it through an EN2 module, at least not currently, which also means that you cannot do OPC UA if it's a redundant ControlLogic system, since the embedded Ethernet port is disabled if it's redundant. So simplex systems only and L8 controllers only. There are some knowledge base articles that address how to go about setting this up. It can be client or it can be server. It cannot be both at the same time. So you got to choose one method of operation. There is some sample code to how to configure it. So if you are interested in using OPC UA, reach out to us. We can get you set up with the the knowledge base articles on how to go about setting it up, as well as the sample code to help get you started. The other thing to note is that each CPU model, like if it's an L81, 82, 83, each one will kind of support a certain number of tags, kind of tiered. So the larger the CPU you have, the more tags that it can support through the OPC UA communications. And last slide for me is on Logix Echo. So Echo version 3 also came out there in November, late last year. And the really big story on Echo version 3 is finally support for the CompactLogic's 5380 and the CompactGuardLogic's 5380 controllers. So again, Logix Echo is a standalone emulating tool that's solely for the L8 CPUs. It's not part of the Studio 5000 Emulate that comes with Studio 5000 Professional. This is a separate emulator that you do have to purchase separately, but it's a very powerful emulator. And now again, we can support any of the L8 CPUs, be it ControlLogic's or CompactLogic's standard controller, or GuardLogic's to emulate your safety code as well. All right, with that, I'm going to turn over to Neil to close us out with a visualization portfolio update.
Great, thanks, Wayne. Starting the visualization update with the latest version of FactoryTalk View, that's version 14, which is now available. So if you have a active license for FactoryTalk View and active support contract, it should be available to you in a download center. It's a fairly big update with version 14 with a lot of user interface and user experience updates. There's a lot here in this list, and there's a lot available on our website and on Rockwell's website with more information on each of these. But there's a few, particularly these ones highlighted in red, that we wanted to touch on today that are some of the more exciting features. If you go to the next slide, we'll talk about the first one, and that's the View client rendering and scaling. Something that makes it a lot easier to have similar applications and similar views of the applications on the client side. So that way users have a familiar experience with the application, regardless of what display they're viewing it on. Has much more enhanced visibility on those screens, as well as better support for 2 and 4K monitors. Faceplates and pop-ups too, automatically resize according to DPI settings. So that eliminates the need for manual adjustments depending on resolution. Another new feature that I think is really cool is the runtime navigation menu and the search. So first with the navigation menu, it's basically a pre-built navigation menu for the application that is already set up, makes it easier to build in the search capabilities in the application with alarm indicators and displays. It's fully customizable with kind of a click hierarchy organization, letting you set it up just the way you want it, where easier for users to find the displays they need to, or to address the alarm notifications that might come up. Also built into that navigation menu is the runtime search, which is a really cool feature, allowing users to search for particular displays, particular objects within those displays, and even tags within those objects. So that drastically enhances the navigation for particularly maintenance personnel trying to find issues within the system, and eliminates the need for manual tag cross-referencing or custom scripts for operators to find exactly what they're looking for. And finally, on the FactoryTalk updates is the new Edge Historian capability. That's Data Log Pro, built on InfluxDB. It's a really great enhancement on the built-in data logger within FactoryTalk View SC. Greatly increases the capacity and the performance of time series data logging within an SC application with the use of the InfluxDB. As usual, you can display and visualize that data within Trend Pro or Data Grid Control. But on top of that, with the use of InfluxDB repository, you can leverage third-party tools for analysis or reporting of the time series data within the new Datalog Pro. Next, we'll move to a little update on the PanelView 5000s. The PanelView 5000s have been out for a little while. I won't go into super detail on the specs here, but basically the PanelView 5000 is a Logix-based HMI option with Premier integration within the Logix 5000 family, due to the fact that its design and development software is Studio 5000 View Designer built into Studio 5000. A little bit more modern HMI option with scalable vector graphics, and has Premier integration with alarms and controller status within its connection to Studio 5000. There's really two flavors, similar to what you might see in the PanelView Plus, standard versus performance. Here we have the 5310 and 5510 that vary in their screen sizes, screen counts, and controller connections. So that's just a little overview of the PanelView 5000. The point being, on the next slide, we have a new tool available from Rockwell that's been asked for quite a while, which is a conversion tool from FactoryTalk View ME to Studio 5000 View Designer. Historically, there hasn't been really an option with PanelViews being based in FactoryTalk View and PanelView 5000s being based in View Designer for a customer to be able to switch to them. To the 5000 without completely redesigning and redeveloping from scratch the application. Now with this tool, it makes it possible to export graphic files from an ME application into View Designer, so you can start those building blocks in the foundation for a new 5000 application. That being said, there are some limitations with the conversion tool. It's definitely not a 100% conversion tool. Things like data logs and alarm settings will still need to be manually built. But as I mentioned, it's a much better foundation when starting a PanelView 5000 application from just starting from scratch. And also wanted to be clear here too that this isn't any writing on the wall that the PanelView Pluses or FactoryTalk View ME is going anywhere. They're two very different HMI options that have their places in different industries. And this just makes it easier for customers wishing to move their HMI into the Logix 5000 family, a little easier option to do that. Next, we'll talk just quickly a couple of updates on the device object libraries. Some additions to the different libraries, namely the EN4TR, the newest Ethernet adapter in the Control Logix family, the addition of the PowerFlex 6000T and 7000, a few Rockwell Technology partner additions with Mettler Toledo on their Wang terminals, SMC Flex, and the PRP network monitor, and the new Stratix 5200 that we were discussing earlier in this presentation has been added to the network device library with version 12.03. Moving on next to the PC world. Hopefully most people have heard of the awesome 6300 family, box PCs and panel PCs. Awesome was a part of an acquisition Rockwell made a number of years ago for this hardware line of PCs that are in the process of and have replaced a various number of the older 6200 VersaView PCs. This is now a full product offering with box mount PCs with the 6300Bs, thin clients, both book and box mounts with the 6300Ts, and full panel PCs as well as monitors in the 6300 family. There's over 15,000 configurations of these available, ranging from operating systems and processors, screen sizes, port counts and types. So makes it a little bit confusing when selecting what you need, but gives you tons and tons and tons of options to select the exact PC you might need for your application. And then next we'll move into basically the awesome software side with FactoryTalk Optics. We've had various sessions, both from TRC and with Rockwell, introducing FactoryTalk Optics. Came out in the Rockwell universe earlier last year. So we'll do a little overview of that and then a slight update on the hardware side with Optics. But as I mentioned, Optics is, as it says here at the bottom with these nice keywords, open, scalable, and flexible visualization platform. Pretty dissimilar to a typical Rockwell product offering. With its flexibility both in the design options with the ability to locally install the Optics Studio, or with the Pro Optics Studio, the ability to access, design, and modify projects directly from a web browser. Also with the Pro Studio, you have the ability to collaborate on application design and modification with other users at the same time from anywhere. And track those changes to the program and track and manage the versions of those applications. The deployment options are also really flexible. Pretty much any PC, either one of the Rockwell awesome 6300 family or any other third-party type PC, as well as what we'll talk about later, the Optics panel, the actual Optics hardware. The graphics are very easy to interchange between different types of displays. They're all scalable, so it doesn't matter what type of device you're viewing the Optics application on, it automatically scales for the most optimal viewing with the web clients. Both style sheets and graphical object libraries make it easy for the development of your first application and applications going down the road. There's a full object library built into Optics Studio, which can be customized and saved for future use in future applications. One of the really great things, one of the most exciting things I think about Optics is it's almost agnostic communication and connectivity options. There's a lot of built-in native drivers for third-party controllers that are available, as well as IoT native connectivity and full OPC UA connections making it easy to connect to disparate control systems, as well as different types of databases, and even connections outside into the enterprise level. Next, we'll talk about the optics panels. These are ARM-based PCs that are locked in on optics. So kind of think cross between a PC and a panel view. They are PCs, but the operating system, Linux, is locked down on optics. This gives the ability to have a modern look and feel of a PC with the cost savings of an ARM-based PC. There's two options in the optics panel family, the compact and the standard. The compact coming in smaller screen sizes, still with varying options on display types. We'll talk a little bit about the runtime bundles at the end of the presentation, but the optics panel compact comes standard with the small runtime bundle and the basic remote access runtime. We won't dig into remote access right now, but it's pretty much, as the name suggests, a remote access tool with the basic meaning essentially that it's remote access to this device, with the pro essentially meaning remote access to that device, the optics panel standard, and devices downstream in the network. With the optics panel compact, it's also possible to upgrade that standard small runtime into a medium runtime and update the basic remote access to pro. Next slide, please. The other option in the optics panel is the optics panel standard. Similar specs on the back end, but comes in quite a few more different display sizes, all the way up to 1.5, which is a really nice big screen. These standards come with the medium optics runtime and the pro remote access with the option to upgrade that optics runtime to the large feature token package. Moving on to the runtime. So as I mentioned, the licensing or entitlement rather of optics runtime is different than anything Rockwell's done before with the token system. It might sound confusing to those that are used to the way Rockwell goes to market with their software packages, but it's really not that difficult because we've built specific tools to help you decide how many tokens you might need, and it also saves customers money by only paying for the features they might need for a particular application. And one such tool to help you size your runtime tokens is the optics runtime sizing tool. This can be accessed through the FactoryTalk Hub, which is Rockwell's cloud environment. Anyone with a Rockwell login can join or create a hub organization, and from there access the optics page and select the runtime sizing tool, which is a step-by-step guide with really simple, honestly, checkboxes to check through the different features that you think you'd need or you'd want in your optics application, and ultimately summarization of exactly how many tokens you would need to achieve that, and exactly which runtime package would achieve that for you. In addition to the runtime sizing tool, the free Optics Studio Standard also has a built-in runtime sizing tool that allows you to fully develop a complete optics application and then basically use this same tool to tell you exactly how many tokens you've used to develop that application and then what package you would need. So with that, I think our presentation today is coming to an end. So just want to thank everyone for being here today. Remind everyone if you'd like more information on any of the topics today, please reach out to your account manager or your local specialist. And if you'd like to scan the QR code in the top corner here to sign in, give us a chance to get your email, and allows us to share any information and slides from the presentation today. So thank you very much, and hope everyone has a good day.